क्या क्या कह रहा था, कैमरा नहीं गया था ना?
And also a welcome for Manaspina in India. Thank you.
That's good.
By giving bouquet to all our special guests and also our guest of honor from Canadian High Commission. May I request Shama from our Manaspina University College Centre for Canadian Education to present bouquet to all the people. Thank you very much. In 2004, December, I proudly accepted an MBA degree from Manaspina University College. Today, I am especially proud to welcome you all to the inauguration of the first British Columbia University office in India. My name is Prashant Srivastava, and I am the director of the new Manaspina University College Centre for Canadian Education in India. I believe from my own experience at Manaspina in the value of an international education and in the high academic standards Canadian education offers. As a director of the Manaspina University College Centre for Canadian Education and as an alumni of Manaspina, I can share this experience with my colleagues, my Indian students who wish to have a quality educational experience in Canada. Indian students have many options to go abroad for studies in all the countries all around the world. But in my mind and truly in my heart, Manaspina is the right choice for the university education. By the presence here in India, Manaspina has signaled a commitment to provide information, counseling to the students, their parents, to support our valued agents, and to develop new partnerships with that will forge and strengthen relation between Malaspina and Indian academic institutions. Today is a very special day for me, for Malaspina, for Canada, and for India. To celebrate Malaspina University College, Ms. Bronwyn Jenkins Dees, Dean for International Education at Malaspina University College, Mr. Christopher Burley, our faculty from School of Management at Malaspina, Professor B.P. Khandelwal, ex-chairman of CBSE India and ex-director for NIPA India. We have Professor T.D. Dwivedi, ex-professor and director from Concordia University, Montreal. Dr. Dwivedi has been teaching in Concordia University for last 30 years, and he has been a well-known educator, and he is doing in India very non-profit activities in the eastern part of province called Uttar Pradesh. We have representatives from the Canadian High Commission led by Mr. Ghislain Chaput, Head of Public Affairs at Canadian High Commission, Delhi. We have representatives from Canadian Education Centre led by Hazel, and we also are pleased to have Maria as well. We have representatives from our new educational partner in India, Inventec. We are pleased to welcome Professor Pankaj Gupta, delegates from the Indian government, universities, school, and our valued agents. And I really want to acknowledge few of more people who have come down from different parts of India. We have Dr. Manish Sharma who has come from Aurangabad. We have a professor and the director from Educational Trust who have come from Haryana. We have a very special guest, and we have interacted with them during this trip to India. Professor Landan Prasad, a noted management professional and also a great contributor for all the business developments and other activities at APJ School of Management. He's the director of APJ School of Management. We are really pleased to have you, sir, here. We also want to acknowledge tradition. Dr. Manas Pandey, who has come from Purvanchal University, from again eastern province of Uttar Pradesh, and all the senior educators and representatives from Indian media and press. So now I'm pleased to welcome and introduce you to Dr. Patrick Ross and Ms. Bronwyn Jenkins Dees, who will speak on behalf of Malaspina University College. So may I request Dr. Patrick Ross to take it further. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Welcome, everyone. It is an incredible pleasure for me to be here with you today. It's an honor to be with you here today. I bring greetings, official greetings from Dr. Ralph Nielsen, our president of Malaspina University College, who cannot be here with us today, unfortunately, because his duties require him elsewhere at home. However, luckily for me, as the Vice President of Student Services, I've enjoyed probably one of the most profound weeks of my life in your country. And I want to talk about that, and I want to share my experiences with you about that. But I also bring greetings from our board chair, Mr. Robin Kenyon, and all of our governors, Board of Governors, who actually regulate our institution provincially through legislation and all our policy. And we have a Board of Governors, a large Board of Governors that knows I'm here, and they have given me their blessing. It's been an incredible first trip for me here in India. This is my first time in your beautiful country, and it's been incredibly special. Yesterday, I celebrated my 59th birthday in your country. But in some ways, I can describe it as my first birthday in your country. But what was really unique was that I phoned my wife this morning, who wished me happy birthday because it's my birthday in Canada. So I've enjoyed 2 birthdays in 2 days. But a little bit about the Canadian context. Canada, as you know, the second largest country in the world, is a diverse and multicultural country. Indeed, it is no longer an experiment in our country. It is really our culture, which is multicultural. We are naturally beautiful, and most importantly, from an Indian perspective and from a Canadian perspective, perhaps a worldwide perspective, we're a peaceful country. We are well known for our peacekeeping and our efforts to make a difference in this world of ours. And in British Columbia, the West Coast, the most beautiful part of Canada, in fact, it's identified itself as the beautiful province. It's a place where we're very proud to live. And in British Columbia, the most beautiful part of British Columbia is Vancouver Island. And Vancouver Island is no small island. It is 2/3 the size of all of Great Britain. But we're so blessed to live there, and it has been identified internationally as one of the best islands to live on in the world. And I would offer a warm welcome to any of you who would like to come to our country, and particularly Vancouver Island. But Nanaimo, the town that we live in, and the city that our university is in, is an incredible place. We are 85,000 strong, small in your standards. We reside below a mountain on the Pacific Ocean. We are called Nanaimo because it is an Aboriginal word, a First Nations word, from the tribe the Nanaimo. And Nanaimo means a gathering place, a welcoming place. So I invite you from our Aboriginal First Nations people to come and gather with us someday in Nanaimo, which is Nanaimo in English. You may wonder too about the name Malaspina. Malaspina is actually, our namesake is Alexandro Malaspina, who was actually an Italian, who traveled and sailed under the Spanish flag. And he was the first European to explore the waters of the Pacific Northwest. And in those explorations, he discovered our beautiful shores, where our Nanaimo people were residing. And so we have taken his name as our university, Malaspina, which I understand in Hindi, Mala means garland. It encircles your neck and welcomes you and embraces you. Well, I love the connection between Mala and Malaspina, Canada, and India. So, as we encircle one another here today with the garland, the symbolic garland, let me talk briefly about the Malaspina that I love. We live on 110 acres, our campus. We have a $100 million budget per year. 50% of that budget is provided by the provincial government. And in Canada, we do not have a federal agency to regulate education at the higher levels. We regulate at the provincial level. So it's indeed an honor to be regulated by a provincial government and being awarded $50 million per year, which I think speaks of our credibility as an institution. We generate the other $50 million a year by our own entrepreneurial spirit. We have 10,000 students, of which 1,000 to 1,500 per year are international students from 40 different countries around the world. We have an incredible facility, a new library, new residences or hostels as you identify them. We have a new school of management, a new center of excellence for international education, to name a few of our exterior accomplishments in recent years. But those are our exterior features. It's the interior values, it's the interior foundations, the structures of the institution that really I should speak about. Malaspina is built on a set of principles, on values, about respecting the relationship between the teacher and the student, about a collegial approach to education, about collaboration, ensuring that students study in groups and collaborate with colleagues around the world. It's an incredible opportunity for our students to be part of our regional community, but we see at Malaspina, our community goes far beyond our region. It goes to our province, to our national domain, but it comes here to India, to the international stage. And Malaspina, under the leadership of Bronwyn Jenkins Dees, is known in Western Canada as one of the most profoundly powerful and potent international programs in Canada. And I'd like to congratulate Bronwyn Jenkins Dees publicly here today. It's incredible that we believe and understand that we know international education has life-altering opportunities for our students. And lifelong relationships can be developed. Even in my short stay here, in 1 week in your country, I've met incredible people who I know I can become friends with over the rest of my life. And I'll just name two. as an example of what I've experienced. Just 2 of maybe 40 that I've met in the last week. I've had the privilege of meeting Dr. Prasad, your Vice Chair, Dr. Prasad, the Executive Director of APJ, and Dr. Inderpal Singh, the former Vice Chair of the GNDU here in India. And I've been in both their homes, sharing tea. But more importantly, we shared belief systems and values and pedagogy. And we found common ground. And I think the important thing is that when you travel the world, you soon realize that we are not very different. In fact, we are very same. And when you go into the hearts of people, like I've had the opportunity here in India to do, you touch them and understand the commonplaces. And that's what I want for our students. And that's what I want for your students, is to experience that, the commonplace, the place that will make a difference in their life. To know that the world is a global community. To know that they have a responsibility to reach out beyond their region, their country. And we can do that as educators, and that's why we are here today. Our global community needs us to do this important work. We know in this room that the danger lies in insular attitudes and isolation. What lurks in the shadows of isolation is dangerous. It's bias, it's misunderstanding, and eventually, we know too well in the world, it leads to conflict. So the work we are doing goes far beyond pedagogy. It goes far beyond learning. It goes far beyond content. It goes far beyond diplomas and certificates and degrees. It goes to peacemaking. It goes to making a difference in the world. This is particularly important for our students, for they hold our future in their hands. So we must work together, and I mean together, to uphold this notion, this potent power of international opportunity, to create a global community, and I believe that Canada and India here today are doing just that. So when we open our office in Delhi, it is not opening an office in Delhi. It is far much more than that. This represents a commitment in India, a commitment in Delhi, a commitment between 2 nations. This represents Malaspina's values that I spoke of earlier. And this represents us reaching out and declaring our intention, our willingness to learn, and particularly to learn alongside you, not above you and not below you, alongside you, because we have so much to share and learn from one another. This is not a relationship that is hierarchical. This is a relationship of equality. In my short week in your country, I've learned enormous amount about pedagogy, and I thought I knew a lot. Dr. Singh, I told him with some pride that I had been a teacher since 1972. And as a senior executive officer of an institution, I still consider myself a teacher. And he said, "Good, Dr. Ross, but let me add, you really should consider yourself a student." And you know, it was a good learning point for me. So now I will describe myself as a student from my learnings in India. So I started thinking about this speech, and I'm finishing now. Ron will be happy to hear that. And I entitled it, without telling you, Generating Wisdom. For me, this is about generating wisdom, which will go beyond the knowledge, and create real relationships. And for me, it's just been a privilege and an honor to be in your country for this last week. And it's an honor for having you here today. And I'm so proud that you've attended this event and put up with my 8 or 10 minutes of deliberations. But I look forward to a long and productive relationship between 2 incredibly diverse and creative countries. Thank you very much.
Well, as you say in your country, namaste. Welcome. Thank you. I wanted to celebrate our inauguration here today by wearing a sari, and it's been a really exciting experience, actually, buying a sari. And then I actually had to get help, and I'll need a helper in Canada, I think, when I'm back. And we celebrate International Week next week at Malaspina. And on Wednesday, we have our Indian students doing Indian dances and various other things. So I've promised that I will wear this again next Wednesday in Canada. So I'm excited. As Patrick said, this is truly a very important day for Malaspina, and a very, very proud day for me personally. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be in India. This is my 7th time. I visited here for the last almost 7 years. And so the office is a culmination of the work we've been doing in India for the last 7 years. But really, this office came about in a very large part because of the tremendous belief that Malaspina students have. Malaspina students from India have incredible loyalty in the quality of education that we provide in Malaspina. And I have to tell you, it's their incredible support and loyalty to our institution that made it a very easy decision for me to decide to open an office. We know Prashant, he is our MBA graduate. Sakit back there, stand, say hello. Sakit is also one of our MBA graduates. We've had another one of our students helping us in other areas of India. He's not able to be here this week. We have one of our excellent female graduates helping us in Bombay. It really speaks to our ability to be able to support this office, because it is the students and their experiences at Malaspina that will celebrate what we do at Malaspina and encourage other students to come. So our office in India will provide information to new students. It will facilitate the application process for students. And as Patrick and both Prashant said, it will support our educational partnerships and new relationships with institutions and with our valued agents. India's rapid growth and prosperity will largely shape the world economy in the future. We know that. We need to be prepared for this new reality and the challenges and opportunities that will accompany this vast, complex market. Obviously, India's potential is hard to ignore, so we decided not to ignore it. Opening the Malaspina office in India will allow us to develop and support a focused, proactive, consistent, and coordinated approach to the Indian market. Winning market share in India is about branding Canadian education, not just about branding Malaspina, and about branding British Columbia education, and its comparative advantages, and its very reasonable prices. But it's also more than that. It's about supporting an integrated strategy that embraces the contributions of all partners, which include governments, the education industry, and our Indo-Canadian people in British Columbia. British Columbia, as most of you know, is home to the largest Indo-Canadian community, the largest Punjabi-speaking community in the country, with about 121,000 people. And we can't ignore that the relationships that have been built in British Columbia and throughout Canada will help us in bringing other students to Canada. BC's brand in India will largely be developed by this Indo-Canadian community. And nowhere does this brand have more potential than in education. But really, our office is not simply about branding. It is about providing quality education. Over 100,000 Indian students go overseas a year. Very few go to Canada, in fact. And so we really have to help develop much more awareness about our country and about the quality of our education. In Malaspina, we only have 40 Indian students. And in our largest institution, the University of British Columbia, there are only 140 students from India. If you look at our comparative countries like Australia and the UK and the United States, students are choosing first to go to these countries. We need to change that. We need to get that information out about the quality of our education, the quality of our lifestyle, as our two students will tell you. They're both now landed immigrants of our country, and we need more landed immigrants. You know, you are a young population. We are an aging population. Well, Patrick is, I'm not.
It's true.
But we need more young people. We have a huge gap to fill in terms of ensuring that we have people who can fill the gap when people retire in the workforce. And we can only do that. Our adults are not having children. And so we can only fill this gap by bringing in new immigrants. And the best immigrants we can bring in are those who are educated in Canada. And so by providing education, we then provide incredible opportunities for our students to work in Canada and develop continued relationships with Canada and India. So international education in Canada offers increased prospects of employability in a very competitive marketplace. And we know that Indian education cannot meet the demand for that space, or for access, or for employability. So we are making a long-term investment now to build relationships with India as it continues to grow. Our goals are to establish strong relationships and explore opportunities for joint programming and for teaching and research. I can honestly tell you that Indian students at Malaspina have enriched the culture of our institution. They've enriched the lives of Canadian students and faculty. Of our 10,000 Canadian students, 90% will never go overseas. Very few. In fact, it's a very discouraging number of students, both American and Canadian, who go overseas. The national average is 1%. We're very fortunate that I can tell you that 5% of our students travel overseas to maybe 20 different countries a year. So I'm very proud of that number. Because I'm young and won't be retiring for a few years, my goal is to make that 10%. And that's a tough goal to meet. But for the 90% of the students who don't have the opportunity to travel overseas and have an international exposure, the international students at Malaspina are essential to giving our Canadian students a rich understanding of the world outside of Vancouver Island. Certainly, our Indian students have enriched my own life, and I'm very proud of the work we're doing. I mean, we didn't have Indian students at Malaspina until about 7 years ago, and so I've learned a lot about what values Indian students have. In fact, as Pat said, we share many similar values. Our education systems are similar in that we're both from the Commonwealth, and so we have many good things to share. So I would like, on behalf of Malaspina, to thank our Indian students for the incredible contributions they make to our education system and to our country. And I'd also like to say a couple of very special thank yous. One to the Canadian High Commission, who is a tremendous supporter of education, even though, as Patrick said, we don't have a federal Ministry of Education. And I know that the Canadian High Commission has sort of pulled little pieces of their budget out to support what's happening in India. But I have to tell you, of all the countries that I visited, the Canadian High Commission is the most supportive Canadian mission of education, and has been extremely helpful in helping the Canadian institution make linkages, to support research, and I know we'll continue to have their support. I also want to recognize the Canadian Education Centre under Hazel and Maria. I've also known Hazel for many years, since I started coming to India, and again, without hesitation, I would say that the Canadian Education Centre in India, there's a network of Canadian education centres. By far, the Canadian Education Centre is the most productive, the most helpful, and has done a tremendous job here. It really is about the people, so it is about Hazel and it is about Maria. Maybe you could just stand up, because I really would like to thank you both. I know you could win this spot. Thank you. So it is a partnership that we opened our Malaspina office today. We see new partners in the room, we see old partners in the room, and we're looking forward to continued relationships in India. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I guess a few of the cultural differences that we're experimenting this morning. Canadians are not that much used to Indian Standard Time, and also we do a lot less protocol when we have this kind of setting. So please, I hope no one is offended that we don't go through each of the participants like is the tradition here. I just got in India about 4 months ago, so I'm learning these things too. And I can't pretend to be to be any expert on our academic relations with the country, although I'm striving very hard to get there. So please bear with me because I will stay on text. I'm sorry. So I wanted to first of all thank the colleagues from Malaspina for giving me this tribune because this is part of what we need to do to be helpful to in a more broader sense. And I'm really glad you said all these kind words, and I hope my colleague Bernardo was taking notes, so maybe we can both get a raise. That was not in the... So, okay, I'll read. I think it's easier to try to, especially as we have to do a bit of time management. So India's rapid growth, the huge size of its economy, its demographic profile with so many young people, India's rich tradition of research and development, and the vast pool of talented people are the main factors raising India's profile in the world. World leaders from all walks of life are seriously courting India today. Canadians are no exception, of course, and the past 3 years have witnessed an abundance of high-profile Canadian visits to India. In January, the Premier of Canada's largest province, Ontario, and the Premier is the equivalent here of the Chief Minister. And the province is the equivalent of the state, of course. So the state Chief Minister of Ontario, if you will, led a very large business delegation. What was striking was that over 35 representatives from educational institutions, well actually it was over 40 persons, but from more than 35 different institutions from Ontario. So everyone is coming nowadays, and it explains why I have to read the text instead of learning myself, because there's so many things happening at the same time, and resources are slow to adapt to this situation. And also just next week we will have our Minister of International Trade also coming to India, although there is no specific education component. Before I give a little overview of our educational strengths, and I know this has been done, so I won't spend too much time on this, I would just like to briefly mention that Canada and India have had in place now for a year a bilateral science and technology agreement. And this agreement provides the framework for advancing scientific cooperation between our two knowledge-rich countries. In this context, educational institutions on both sides will play a key role in furthering bilateral relations between our two countries. Since I've arrived in India in October, as I said, I've been really struck by the importance that Indian families give to education. In my view, it's not my BlackBerry, this is someone else's BlackBerry, another great Canadian invention. In my view, it is far greater than the importance given to education in any countries of similar economic development. And I think Wednesday's budget was also a good indication of that. In Canada, it's similar. Education has always been a priority. And over the past several years, we've spent more per capita on our education system than any country in the Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development, the OECD. The Canadian education system is very dynamic, diverse, high quality, and affordable. Canadian institutions offer internationally renowned programs with worldwide recognized degrees and diplomas. Canada is an international leader in a variety of academic disciplines, notably in science and technology, and is acclaimed worldwide for its achievements in fields such as aviation and aerospace engineering and communication technologies. As a result, Canadian education is universally recognized and respected at the highest levels of academia, government, and business. And where it is not yet, it is our job to make it happen. We have very strong skills in a very thriving aviation industry, just like in India, but this has helped us offer also innovative technical aviation training as well as high-level MBAs in aviation management. And now different deals are in the work to bring these trainings, not as part of Malaspina, but to bring these trainings to India. And I believe this is strongly an excellent example of how these deals can be mutually beneficial, because everyone knows that there are very huge needs for the Indian airline industry that has developed so quickly over the last few years. Education is not all about knowledge, as Dr. Russ mentioned. It can also be about wisdom, but it can also be about soft skills. And I know many experts here in India say that soft skills are what is lacking in many of the graduates. And I know that these Canadians, students who go to Canada, they come back with these soft skills. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these soft skills are also taught here, but it's the experts say, and I'm not the expert because I just arrived, but that it's not across the board. There's a number of students get these soft skills, but then the rest don't. And just not to keep this very generic, we're talking about teamwork, interpersonal and negotiation skills, business etiquette, and others. I think what we have to insist on, and you've mentioned this too, when we try to encourage students and their parents to be trying to choose Canada as an education destination, is that there are many other advantages, other than the cost competitiveness and the quality of the education. Canada has a well-deserved reputation of being a safe and welcoming country. Foreign students who come to Canada join a very multicultural society, and they join classes that already look like a United Nations session in many cases. Our country, you've touched on this also, has a diverse geography and is beautiful. I could argue that Quebec may be just as beautiful as British Columbia, but I don't think this is the right place to do that. Many of you will know already that the United Nations for several years has rated Canada as the best place in the world to live. No, it's not, but it consistently ranks in the top 10. And to be frank, there isn't much difference. We were really happy when we were first, but if you went at that time to the 10th or 15th country down the list, these are all pretty good places to live in. Institutions like the Malaspina University College are very determined to have an impact in India, being through students' recruitment or by setting up operations or joint ventures with Indian partners. They invest tremendous efforts and quite a bit of money to succeed in India, despite some important hurdles that remain. They are paving the way for many other institutions which might elect to wait until these hurdles are lifted before they come. I hope that many students will go to Malaspina and to Nanaimo. Nanaimo has been very high on my list of places to visit for a long time, but I never managed to get there. But I promise that I will in the near future. I just wanted to note finally that the growing number of exchanges between our students and our institutions are very good news for all of us, because each of these exchanges, there are new bridges between the two countries, and these bridges are key in any mature relationship. I wanted to talk briefly about your state-of-the-art facilities, libraries, computer labs, etc. But I think this is obvious to everyone. And also as part of your qualities, you now have also a Center for Canadian Education here. So it's gonna make life easier for everyone who's interested in going to Malaspina. So I wish you good luck in all your in this new endeavor and your Indian experience all over. It seems that it's been very good so far, so hopefully it's going to continue. And I assure you of the Canadian High Commission's continued support. Thank you.
I stand here to welcome Madam Ronwin Jenkins, if I pronounce correctly, Dr. Patrick Ross from our Canadian High Commission, Mr. Chisnan Chaput, and my elder, Dr. Devedi, and my young friend, Mr. Prashant, and all of you who are distinguished invitees who have taken trouble to be with us this morning. When I was asked Dr. Prashant to come and speak, I didn't know what to speak. But now I feel very happy and even feeling of something when I'm reminded of the Dellers Commission report on agenda for the 21st century, education agenda for the 21st century. We said the learning for the knowledge society for the 21st century will have to be based upon 4 pillars. And pillars of learning to know, and added with learning to do the skills. And third, which is very much visible, and many of the communities that Professor Ross was referring about, learning to live together. And added to that was the soft skill, or the inner skill, I should say, like, if Mr. Chisnan allows for that, the soft skill added with the skill of the inner, that is learning to be. All this combined together is what becomes the challenge for the present systems in education throughout the whole of the globe. We being a part of that international commission, our one senior representative who is presently heading the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Dr. Karan Singh, but the member of that commission, so we feel proud of that. Very much sensitized for and the way India started with participating at the international forums. And I'm able to take a little bit of time to just say how we see this globalization and brought into education as internationalization, which is so much important, so much referential, contextual, and so much to operate upon in the global context. There are many, many factors for India to face, to consider, to challenge, and to open up, to tie up. And as UNESCO itself described globalization, they said it is a multi-faceted process with economic, social, potential and cultural implications for higher education. They further added, it's an UNESCO conference and the way they are trying to define it for higher education, in context of higher education, that internationalization is perceived as one of the ways. What they said was, if the internationalization through education is again a process of developing and implementing the policies and programs to integrate, this is emphasized, to integrate an international, intercultural, global dimension into the purpose to see this, the 7th year, not only of the present century, but this is a term of the present new millennium. So it's a long term and a long journey we have to go together to live together, to learn together, to do together, and to develop the human with humane aspects together. That's where the international committee has to come together. In India, in the last many years, we have tried and we have been conscious upon developing upon higher education. India, with 350 degree awarding universities, with an enrollment of about 10 million students in higher education. But sadly and challengeably, there is only 7% of the age group 18 to 86% are going for arts, commerce, and a little bit of science subjects. The rest is left for software and many more technologies and other things to cover. The way we anticipate within the next few years, by 2008-2009, as per the message in the 10th five-year plan, to attain this to the level of mobilization of the resources with improved governance. Improved governance. So, with this, we see a lot of potential in higher education in India, and that too fueled and propelled further with the serious attempt India is taking upon universalization of elementary education, going to the next stage of universalization, about 65 to 70% educational coverage in the age group of 14 to 18 for senior secondary, senior secondary. That is the input really for the higher education, in which in many areas of the knowledge work society, we need the youngsters to come in, to study, to learn, and make us learn from them what the next phase of the future they are going to build up for this world. With peace, harmony, understanding, and contributions for a happy living together. At the present, as you know, as per I was about students going overseas, the total number varies about, at any time, given time, about 3.3 million from India studying abroad. And almost 9 to 10,000 students going every year, being added to that. And at the Indian currency, at an average of over 15 lakhs, it comes to spending about 45,000 crores, around about 9 billion US dollars every year upon students going abroad. You can just imagine, with this much of amount which we are spending, broadly we can say, with this amount every year, we could have built up at least 40 institutes of management, like IIMs, or at least 20 institutes of technologies in India. Yes, it is happening. And it's going to increase further, I may submit, because of the increased pressure of accommodating more than 5 million additional enrollment in higher education, where the Indian universities, the Indian colleges, the Indian institutes, in whatever way, collaborative or off campus, on campus, and other ways, all that inclusive, it still has to face a large number upcoming in the years to come. And you rightly said, and as we sometimes say, though the West, I mean Europe and America, are aging, India is growing younger and younger, days by days. That's not ours, but this is a UN study which tells about that in the years to come, by 2020, while the workforce between the 15 to 59 age group by 2020, within the next 5, 15, 13, 14 years, we'll have a shortfall about 17 million in the United States, about 9 millions in Japan, about 10 millions in Europe, about 6 millions in Russia, and more importantly, 10 millions in China. If you just add it up together, the scenario is, by that time, as it is has been anticipated by the demographers in United Nations studies, India will have a surplus of 47 million youngsters in the age group, majority of them hailing below 35 years of age. That's where the whole scenario of India stands before us. We jointly should be concerned about that. How to prepare the India future. And India, as you rightly said, we are having the common and many more commonalities of multiculturalism. A strong base in that, how India has proved to be the most populous democracy of the world, sustained for all these years, is still going strong in spite of lot of controversies, lot of varieties of problems, social, ethnic, economical, and others that we are conscious of, and we are facing it. And we find a solution in universal education at elementary and secondary level, and quality, super quality education at the higher education level, in technical, professional, and general subjects altogether. That's where the Planning Commission of India, being very conscious of it, in one of the studies in which I was also a member, and they attempted to read just a excerpt from that, was about the way the Planning Commission of India perceived about the knowledge society, and India's role in India, how India interprets this knowledge society. And it says, use the knowledge through all its constituents and endeavors to empower and enrich the people. Empower and enrich the people. Empowerment is the process of education. It's not only empowerment, added to that is that I submitted learning to be, that means empowerment added with enlightenment. I could very well feel how Professor Patrick enjoyed it while visiting different campuses here in Delhi and roundabout. It was as if we are sharing both as the professionals and the teachers. And just in the morning when we met Professor Srivastava, and when he related about he had been to Cambridge, he has taught there, and the senior person who worked with Professor Bloom in the University of Chicago, the world still became much more closer, much more closer. That's how you feel about, and this is what today is the buzzword in the management education. We call it the EQ. Daniel, Peter Dicker, and everybody, and management gurus, emotional quotient. That is the learning to be. To make us feel, yes, we are attached and interrelated to each other, going for the common goal of making mankind live happily with prosperity. So that way, all the margins, they evaporate. And the beautiful land of Vancouver and Vancouver Island and Malaspina, the way you related with Mala. And you know, Mala is it has different parts together. In India, you know, Mala is used, this current. It is also used for meditation, for concentration, for making one enabled to serve others. That is what we use this mala for many such very meditation sense of the Indian style. And you know, that is the words we go on counting, repeating about the God always. That is used here. So that mala and then Malaspina, that can be, you can understand, it has gone so closer with the beautiful island and Vancouver, beautiful place. I have been emotionally attached to Vancouver. Though I have not been there, I was sharing with her the other day because Indian one center, the CUL, Commonwealth of Learning, has its office there, which deals in distance education throughout all the Commonwealth countries, including India and Canada. Its head office is there in Vancouver. And recently when UNESCO supported one establishment of the Institute of Statistics, UNESCO Institute of Statistics in Montreal, Canadian relationship with UNESCO and UNESCO relationship with India, with major partner and player in UNESCO, has still strengthened. So this day and this occasion, I see as further strengthening and creating, adding another milestone in the long term, as you may have rightly referred about, the long term strengthening of this understanding and relationship between two great countries, Canada and India. This knowledge society, as we are committed in our planning commission report, in the last stage, it enlightens. It's a very, very, very fine word used here. Enlightens the people to take an integrated view of life as a fusion of mind, body, and spirit. This document is our guideline in the Indian policy formations, on which the 11th plan preparation is going on. And with that happy note, you might have seen in the newspapers today only, the Parliament yesterday has been placed with a bill in the Parliament to opening up the foreign universities and campuses coming in India. Of course, with a little bit of federal regulatory system. But this is a welcome gesture, just to ensure that genuine quality institutions come to India, and Indian quality and genuine institutions also try abroad through different processes, whether it is a part of our say, opening of the campus, inviting the students to study there, or maybe training up programs, or many more forms like offshore campuses, training programs, franchises, cooperative programs, virtual universities, and hybrid programs. Whatever possibility of joining and beginning and traveling the journey together is the main theme upon which even the presently the Parliament, which is in session, is already seized of that matter, and it has given a very right signal at the right moment that India has to go global, India has to open up, India invites quality and to open every window from wherever. It's not only the knowledge and information, more than that, which is an addition to the collective wisdom throughout the whole of the world. I'm not going to add further except to say, welcome you to the Indian soil, and as per our courtesy, as per our culture, which is very much joined, and we join together. We appreciate your greatness when you opened your Indian office. The Indian product from Canada had been made in charge to take care of this Indian center, an Indian office. It really speaks about your benevolence, your affection, your understanding about India, Indians, and Indianness. And from that, I close with a Sanskrit shloka, which says, it is in Sanskrit, Ayam nija paro voiti, gadana lag chetasam, udhar charitanam, vasudhaiva kutumbakam. It interprets those people who do for whom it matters small, right? It doesn't matter is what the loss, what the profit. They don't even count for that. But what counts more for those, or counts more, is is submissiveness, is liberal attitude in life. For those only, this whole world is one. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole of the world is one. So this whole of the world is one, and that we have seen here in this very session, in which we all have and we are joined the common feeling of living and eating together, and I see many more opportunities in the future for our further strengthening the ties through this process and different forms of processing in joint values, joint culture, joint traditions, and jointly working for the world of knowledge, bringing out not only studies in graduate and postgraduate, but more than that in research also. Very much needed as an input for the younger generation, and much more needed for a country like India, which is going to be younger and younger by 2020. With these words, welcome you once again, and thank you for your patience to bear with me for this, my submission. Thank you very much.